Hey everybody. Bad lighting, bad video, bad audio. I apologize in advance. This is a fan request. I've never gotten a fan request before, so I'm giving a fan request because I've never gotten a fan request before. Also, I don't know if you're all interested, but I got a box. You want to do an unboxing? I have no idea why that's so much fun, but it is. Let me just in case. It's a box. I wonder what's in it. What's the matter? Come here. Come here. He wants to know what's in the box too. Ah man, this computer's yellow. Sorry. Alright, this is a fan request. As I said, I am currently doing the J.D. ROBB series. It's my favorite series in the world. And we just did Fantasy in Death, Indulgence in Death, and Possession in Death last week. Please check out those vids. Next week we will be doing Treachery in Death. And before we get to Treachery in Death, we might be spoiled with something else. But for a fan, she gave the request, so I'm gonna do it real quick. This is horrible lighting, but sorry. When I was sick a couple of months ago, and I lost my voice for a couple of days, so I tried this experiment AI video. It flopped huge, major, big time. So anyways, this fan asked me to if I could redo this video. So I'm redoing this video for a fan because I've never had a fan request before. So thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Spread the word. I need all the likes and subscribe again. I'm trying experiments this week with some technology. I'm not doing so good, but I could really use the like and subscribes anyway. Could you do that for me? So anyway, this is book 25. Like I said, we are up to book 32 in the series. There's over 60. Speaking of which, but anyways, Creation and Death, J.D. ROBB, book 25. A serial killer who tortures his victims while listening to opera music from the past has returned. Eve has seen this crime scene before. The artful arranged body of a young brunette, arms spread, palms wide up, and body marked by the signs of prolonged and painful torture. Carved into her torso is the time it took her to die, in hours, minutes, and seconds, and on the third finger of her left hand has been placed a silver ring. Eve is capulated back to a case 9 years earlier when a man who the media tagged the groom put the city on edge with a killing spree that took the lives of 4 women in 15 years. Even her partner Feeney, her friend and mentor, couldn't stop him before he disappeared, only to resurrect in other parts of the world to kill and kill again. Don't step on my computer, Casanova. But now the groom seems to have come back to where he started. When it turns out that the groom's most recent victim was employed by Eve's billionaire husband, Roarke, she brings him in onto the case, a move that proves fitting when it becomes chillingly clear that the killer has made it personal. The corpse was washed in products from a store Roarke owns and laid out on a sheet his company manufactures. With the groom's monstrous return, Eve is determined to finish him once and for all. Familiar with his message, she knows that he has already grabbed his next victim, but his sights are set on biggest challenge of his illustrious career, an abduction that will test his skills and promises to give him satisfaction as he's never known. Eve. Now, this is a little backwards, so I'm trying to get my head in it. But it's EVE Dallas is the New York City Police and Security Department. She's got a narrow focus. That's all she is, and it's not too much. It doesn't play too much in this book, but it plays in other books. That she had a rough childhood. She was in foster care, so she had no social life. She didn't get presents, so all that stuff is oh God, this lighting is really bad today. So, she's not used to giving gifts. She's not used to being social. She'd rather be in a gang fight or taking out 2 junkie heads in an alleyway. than going to a party. That's just Eve for you. Mira is the shrink. Roarke is her husband. In this book, it's like over a year and a half, I think, because in the later books, it's 2 and 3. And my head's in the later books right now, because that's what we've been binge reading. So we got Peabody. Has she been made partner yet? I forget. Like I said, my head's in the later books. So Peabody and McNabb and Feeney is the captain of EDD. Whitney's her boss. Somerset is the butler and his Rourke's best friend or mentor or almost father type figure. Mavis is this big singer now. I don't know if it's come through in this book yet. Like I said, my head's still in the 30 books. Because that's where I left off, and that's where my head's way back in the 30s. And Mavis just had Bella in the later books. She hasn't had her yet, I don't think. It's in Kindred or Innocent. Kindred. So, I'm trying to get my head around. And Nadine is studying her This Is Now show. She's got her own show. We got Trina doing the makeup, and Eve scared of Trina, and the whole 9 yards. So, I'm just trying to. This was a fan request, so I'm doing this for the fan. And like I said, please forgive me if my head's not back here. My head's up in the 30s right now, and my head is gonna get in the 60s soon. I can't wait. That's my gift to me. Um, for him, death was a vocation. Killing was not merely an act or means to an end. It was certainly not an impulse of moment or path to gain and glory. Death was in and of itself the all. He considered himself a late bloomer and often bemoaned the years before he found his raison d'etre. All that time lost, all those opportunities missed, but still he had bloomed and was forever grateful that he had finally looked inside himself and found what he was meant for. He was a maestro in the art of death, the keeper of time, the bringer of destiny. Yeah. I mentioned a couple of scenes in the experimental vid, and I know there was more I wanted to do, but it was just an experiment. But she's Eve. Oh, this is Eve at home. But she's at home, and Eve will eat pizza or popcorn or cheeseburgers forever. That they could be her pizza could be her main meal forever. She don't care. Rourke's been trying to feed her normal food, vegetables, that kind of thing. And but when Eve likes her popcorn, she takes her popcorn with a bucket of salt. So you have a bucket of popcorn and a bucket of salt. And Rourke's like, ooh. Every once in a while, Eve thought life was really worth living. Here she was stretched out in a double wide sleep chair watching a vid. There was plenty of action in the vid. She liked watching stuff blow up, and the plot line meant she didn't have to actually think. She could just watch. She had popcorn drowned in butter and salt, and the fat cat, Galahad. I forgot to mention Galahad. Sat stretched across her feet, keeping them nice and warm. She had the next day off, which meant she could sleep until she woke, then veg until she grew mold. So go through that, and then she gets a call, and she goes, "It's Whitney." Sighing, she shoved a pan through her hair. "I'll have to take it." "Pause vid," Rourke ordered, and then rubbed the butter off her cheek. "Lights on, 70%. Thanks." Eve clicked on. "Dallas. Lieutenant, report to East River Park at 2nd Street and Avenue D as primary." "Commander." "I understand you were neither on duty nor on call," he interrupted. "Now you are." The word why went through her head, but she was too well trained to verbalize it. "Yes, sir. I'll contact Detective Peabody en route. I'll see you at Central." He clicked off. "Unusual," Rourke commented. He had already turned off the vid for the commander to contact you personally and to yank you in this way. "Something's hot," Eve replied and shoved the communicator in her pocket. "I've got nothing hot open, but it would not have him tagging me directly when I'm not on the roll. Sorry." She glanced over. "Screws Vidnight. It'll keep." So then she goes to the scene of the crime. Um, what have we got? Sir, I was ordered to let you see for yourself. That's so. She scanned the badge on the thick uniform coat. All right, Newkirk, let's go see for myself. She felt a cold line of anticipation up her spine. Whatever this was, it was major. The lights the tech had set up washed white over the shadows. Through them, she saw Morris coming toward her. Major, she thought, again for the chief medical examiner to be called on scene, and she saw it in his face, the tightness of concern. Dallas, they said you were on scene. They didn't say you were. I was nearby out with friends, a little blues club over on Bleecker, which explained the boots, she supposed. The black and silver pattern she had assumed once belonged to Reptile wasn't the sort of thing a man would normally sport on a crime scene, not even for the stylish Morris. The commander called you in, she said. He did. I haven't touched the body yet, visual only. I was waiting for you. She didn't ask why. She understood she was meant to form her own conclusions without any outside data. With us, Newkirk, she ordered, and walked toward the lights. It might have been a sheet of ice or snow. From a distance, it might appear to be. And from a distance, the body arranged on its might appear to be artful, a model for some edgy shoe. But she knew what it was, even from a distance, and the line of cold up her spine took on teeth. Her eyes met Mars, but they said nothing. It wasn't ice or snow. She wasn't a model, a piece of art. Eve took a can of sealant from her kit, set the kit aside down. You're still wearing your gloves, Mars told her. That stuff's hell on gloves. Right. She gazed steady on the body. She pulled off the gloves, stuffed them in her pockets, sealed up. She hooked her recorder to her coat. Record on. The text would be running one, as would Morris, and she'd have her own. Victim is female, Caucasian. Did you ID her? She asked Morris. No. As yet unidentified, mid to late 20s, brown and blue, small tat of blue and yellow butterfly on left hip. The body is naked, posed on a white cloth, arms spread, palms up. There's a silver ring on her third finger of her left hand. Various visible wounds indicating torture, lacerations, bruising, punctures, burns. Crosshatch of a slash wounds on both wrists. Possible cause of death. She looked at Morris. Yes, possible. Uh, there's carving in the torso reading 85 hours, 12 minutes, 38 seconds. Eve let out a long breath. He's back. Yes, Morris. Yes, he is. So she goes on. She gets Newkirk. Roarke. She interviews Roarke. Peabody comes on scene. He got them coffee. Uh, so I had a few pages marked previously. I mean, I could read this whole book. Uh, So many wounds, he thought, and all washed clean. Somehow it might have been less horrid if there had been blood. Blood would be proof, wouldn't it, that life had once been there. But this woman he remembered as vital and brimming with energy looked like some poor doll, mangled and sliced by a vicious child. Tidy work, Eve stated, and had Rourke's gaze whipping toward her. He started to speak, to let loose some of the horror he felt, but he saw her face. The anger was close to the surface now, however calm her voice sought to the pity. She had pity inside her. He often wondered how she could bear the weight of it. He said nothing. He's very methodical, Morris engaged the computer before offering Eve micro goggles. You see these wounds on the limbs? Long, thin, shallow. Scalpel, maybe, or the tip of a sharp blade. Though the wounds were displayed optimized on screen, Eve leaned down to study them through the goggles. Precise, too. Either she was drugged or he had her restrained in such a way she couldn't struggle enough to make a difference. Which gets your vote? Morris asked. Restraints. And I don't know where my note is. Eve gave Peabody a nod, then walked to the front of the room. Behind her, the wall screen flashed on. Seraphina York, Eve began, at age 28 TOD. She was putting the victim first, Rourke realized, putting that image, the name, into the mind of every cop in the room, so that every cop in the room would think of her, remember her as they were buried in routine and data, in the long hours and the frustrations, just as they would remember what had been done to her as those next images came up. She went through them all, every victim, the names, the faces, the ages of their suffering and death. It took a long time, but there were no interruptions, no signs of restlessness. We believe all of these women, 23 women, were abducted, tortured, and murdered by one individual. We believe there are there are likely more than these 23 who have not been connected or reported, whose bodies may not have been found, or who were not killed in the same manner. Earlier victims, we believe, before Kareem Dagmi, when he decided on this particular method. This method deviates very little from Vic to Vic, as you see in your copy of the case file from 9 years ago. Copies of case files in full from murders attributed to the unsub will be forthcoming. His mythology is initially typical of a serial. We believe he stalks and selects his victim, all within a certain age group, race, gender, and coloring, learning their abilities and habits. He knows where they live, where they work, where they shop, who they sleep with. And uh I'll start the missing persons run. He cocked his head toward Roarke. Our civilian would be a good one to handle the real estate search. He would. Why don't you get him on that? I'm going to swing over to the lab, bribe or threaten Dickhead to push on reports. She glanced over, saw that Roarke was already working with McNabb to set up data and communication centers. I'm just going to have a word with the civilian first. She crossed to Roarke, tapped his shoulder. He tied his hair back, as he often did before getting down to serious e-business, and still wore the sweater and jeans he'd put on. Had it only been that morning when they left the house for the crime scene? She realized he looked more like a member of the team than the emperor of the business world. Need a minute, she told him, then stepped a few feet away. What can I do for you, Lieutenant? Feeney's got work for you. He'll fill you in. I'm heading out with Peabody. I just want, look, don't go buying stuff. He lifted his eyebrows, and the amusement showed clearly on his face, such as toys, new furniture, catered lunch, dancing girls, whatever, she said with a distracted wave of her hand. You're not here to supply the NYPSD. What if I get hungry, then feel the urge to dance? Suppress it. She gave him a little poke in the chest that he interpreted correctly as both affection and warning. And don't expect me to kiss you goodbye, hello, like that when you're on the clock. It makes us look married. At her stony grin, very well, Lieutenant. I tried my best to suppress all my urges. Fat chance of that, she thought, but it had to be satisfied. Peabody, she called, with me. On the way out, Peabody hid vending for a Diet Pepsi for herself and a regular tube for Eve. Gotta keep the caffeine pumping. I'll never been on something like this. Not when you catch a case a few hours later. You got a task force, a war room, and a pep talk from the chief. We worked the case. Well, it's this case and the ones from 9 years ago, and even the ones between the what went down elsewhere. There's a lot of balls in the air. It's all one, Eve said as they got into the car. One case with a lot of pieces. Arms, Peabody said after a minute. It's more like arms. It's like an octopus. The case is an octopus. They've got all these tentacles, all these arms, but there's only one head. You get the head, you get them all. Okay, Eve said, that's not bad. The case is an octopus. And say, okay, maybe you can't get to the head, not at first, but you get a good hold on one of those tentacles, then I get it, Peabody. Because the show had an image of giant octopus swimming in her head, Eve was relieved when her dashling single, Dallas. So, what's up? Nadine. Eve let her glance shift down to the screen when Nadine First, a very hot property in media circles, beamed out at her. Media conference, use the department spokesman. I know you love that one. I'm primary. I get that. On screen, Nadine's cat eyes were sharp and searching. But what gives this one enough juice? A dead woman in the park, identity yet to be given? We'll give her name at the conference. Give me a hint, celebrity. No hints. Come on, be a pal. That was the trouble. They were pals. Moreover, Nadine could be trusted, and at the moment, Nadine had plenty of juice of her own. Could Eve Muse be useful? You're going to want to get to the media conference, Nadine. I've got a conflict just You're going to want to be there, and when it wraps up, you're going to want to find your way to my office. Offering me a one-on-one after a media announcement takes all the shine, Dallas. You're not getting a one-on-one. Just you, just me, no camera. You're going to want to do this, Nadine. I'll be there. And her and Feeney have a couple of words about the search, and it leads to a little situation between her and Feeney, and then they gotta go get Ariel Greenfeld. We catch up with Nadine and Charles, who will be getting married. I've covered it already, but where'd they get Promises in Death, right? Promises in Death or Kindred in Death. So that was few books from this one. This is 25, Strangers in Death. I did a video on that. Please check that out. I look at that book and I think Strangers on a Train, Agatha Christie movie. You've got to check it out. So I did that, and Kindred, A Missing in Death, Fantasy in Death, Indulgence in Death. We just did Possession. We will be doing Treachery down the road, and we've got an unboxing. Hey y'all, maybe I have to get the lighting is really, really bad here. So please like and subscribe. How they get the serial killer, how Roarke comes through at the end for them. For Eve, she has him do something for her, totally under the table, and you're sitting there going, yes, 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 go Roarke, go Roarke. So it's all good. Please hit the like and subscribe. Thank you.